Welcome back, everybody. I figured it'd be a good time to jump on. Anytime's a good time, right? We're all breathing. We're alive. It's another day. It's always sunny somewhere. We are not in Philadelphia, but hey, I took a couple days off, had to take care of the family, and then the Super Bowl. I was hoping for a better outcome than what it was. I was hoping for a parade. How you doing, Kenny?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm I'm doing better. I just got done talking to a good friend, and he kind of said it the best way I think. And I'm getting a little older myself, and I haven't seen all the Super Bowls I'd like to see. But to get upset and throw a fit and not yeah, that's just not me. I am very emotional. I'm very passionate. I think I would have been over the moon if we would have won. But I kind of said this earlier, and I had one of those moments where you're like a dad, and you get to, maybe it'll never happen again. Maybe it'll happen a lot of times. Maybe you don't know how many times. It's like kind of like finding a unicorn or seeing the rainbow, and right. But I truly love my little girl, whether she did this or not. But at the end of the Super Bowl, when I looked over and she was crying, I totally know my fanhood has passed, and it is going to her, and she is a faithful, and win or lose, it really does matter to her. And I'm like, hey, it means something to me, and it means something to her, and that's what made me proud, and it made me proud of the Niners.
Does Holly know who Taylor Swift is yet?
Oh, Holly's the little one. And Lily's the older one who was sobbing a little bit, and
so Lily was watching it.
She knows who Taylor Swift is. She knows some of the songs, but she's not a big fan. She didn't like the whole narrative, them being, that's going up against her team.
Well, then it worked, right? Because Taylor is supposed to bring in some young fans and some women, and because football has to survive after today, and every year there are more and more women on the earth than there are men.
Yep. It's like
just gotta know your market, and you gotta survive, and you gotta adapt. And if that means some girls have to learn the rules of football, so be it.
So before we get carried away too far, we'll bring in Mr. Bebop down here, and we'll keep it to a fun show. This is I guess the reaction show. People who are watching want to throw out their comments. We'll go from there. There's been some moments where you can turn your head, you can say this or that, but me and you haven't gotten a chance to talk, and we'll bring in Bebop as well and get his thoughts.
Beady Bop.
What's up, fellas?
What's going
on? Good evening, all the faithful. We're still here. We're still out here. Yeah. We buckled a little bit, but we're still out here.
We're good.
Made it to the end. What can you say more than we did what we had to do, dude? There was some hiccups, some bad hiccups, just a few, but it wasn't many. I'm just saying there's 31 other teams that are feeling the same way, as much as they don't want to admit it. But we made it to the pinnacle, dude. Like, I don't feel bad at all.
Man, a lot of teams were done, but week 12, week 13, their season was over, and those fans, they stopped watching.
Yeah. So we had something to fight for, and we fought. We fought mightily. I feel like they got it by the skin of their teeth again. And I don't think that they're like if they beat us. I think we lost to ourselves.
We lose the way we always do. We beat ourselves.
We beat ourselves. They didn't
rarely lose. We rarely
kick our
lose,
asses like that.
Our fault. Yeah.
They get by the skin of their teeth, and geez, man, like that last play, and all playoff season long, like we've been playing zone and faking the man coverage, and boy, did we need that at the end of that game. We that motion. They knew it was going to be man coverage, and they waggled it to the right.
It was the most boring last play of football that you will ever see. It was the most boring pass.
Play action waggle.
Completely uncovered guy who was covered by Logan Ryan, a guy that we signed a few weeks ago, was in the Super Bowl guarding the
right there. Him and Warner, they were right there. I just couldn't.
They were lost.
I still don't understand how they didn't cover him and go wide out. Like he wasn't gonna run. He wasn't gonna run it in.
Well, guys, let me get your thoughts on this one. Daniel Berry Sports, Mr. 49er Ultimate Report, CardCast, Philly Special Cards. Thank you all for coming. Daniel Berry Sports brings up this comment. I'm not going to say it, but I definitely would like to see some help or whatnot. Even if we would have won the Super Bowl, I still think changes would have needed to happen. Just because it's not broke doesn't mean that you can't get better. Or sometimes they say if it's not broke, don't break it, don't touch it, right? But sometimes you do. You always try to, and you should. If you're a good team, you always should try to get better. And that's where the old 49ers used to do that. They would get rid of players before they were completely finished, right? We let players go, and we were upset because we bought the jerseys and they were Super Bowl winners, but we let them go.
No Eli Mitchell. We abandoned the run in the third. Like went on a halftime show.
Just like the Ravens. All of a sudden,
and it was just like we have to continue running the ball, whether we're getting yards out of it or not. We can't abandon it, and we did.
Yeah. Well, look what happened. It was almost the same as the Ravens against the Chiefs, right? They were playing a good game. The Ravens are a force. I mean, we know that. The entire league knew that. In fact, every media person, everybody that was out there said Lamar was the MVP, and the Ravens couldn't be stopped, right? And then what happens? The third quarter comes in the playoffs, and all of a sudden the Ravens forgot who they were. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what their game plan was. I guess it was a brand new game plan after having dominated teams all year, and then all of a sudden in one quarter they just stopped being who they are. It's a little odd.
Fizzled out.
So I do like this this point from Niner Gang podcast. This is Dion, and there is. I'm so done with Kyle. He can't get us over the hump. 3 Super Bowl losses. I'm tired of. He's Reed and Philly, good but not good enough, and we're stuck with him for 6 more years. So that is that's one of the things that I think even if we would have won the Super Bowl this year, I think Kyle Shanahan needs help. I don't want to say Wilkes was the problem, but when you bring somebody in to run your defense and you don't let them run their style of defense, it's like, here, paint the house. And you give them all the materials, but then you don't let them work the way they're supposed to work, the way they want to work, right? You hired them to do a job. Well, you gotta let them do their job. No, you wanted somebody to hold
the wide 9 that we made it, nonstop to conference championships, Super Bowls, but was the wide 9 the defense that we should still stick with? I don't know.
You know what? Our defense was fine for the last 3-4 years. In fact, it was probably the scariest defense in all of football. And then this year, they just weren't. And it's a little strange because we had enough players on there.
Greenlaw being out, Greenlaw getting injured,
Yeah, Greenlaw hurt.
I kept seeing Flanagan Fowles getting beat. I kept seeing Orton Burks get beat.
They were doing their best, but they're not the starter. They're nowhere near Greenlaw, and Greenlaw isn't even anywhere near Fred. it's just, it becomes this thing. This is what happens with the Niners. They kind of have to have everything perfect in order to be successful. We have to get beyond that. We have to get
the healthiest team we've been in for the last 4 years.
well. Also,
So,
what
had the
Dion
healthiest squad going in, and then everybody got injured during the game,
non-contact
3-4
injury.
starters.
You telling me he just jumped up and down and snapped his Achilles off? And I'm not saying I haven't seen it. It does happen, but that's just what?
It felt very scripted.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
speaking of scripted, remember, I don't know, Brian and I, one of our first shows, Brian and I talked about this with Kirk Cousins going out, and somebody asked me something. I'm like, it's total fake injury, completely fake injury. The guy doesn't want to be there anymore. He's unhappy. They're not supporting him. They're not trying to help Kirk Cousins wins. And I wasn't even sure if they wanted him anymore. And then he's hurt for the year, right? Well, if anybody watched the awards show, you could have seen him doing the gritty or tap dancing or whatever. He was dancing at the awards show. This is a guy who was out for the year, and he's dancing a jig at the awards show.
I mean, we made it. We made it to the end. You know what I mean? We made it to the end, so you know what I mean. What can we possibly ask for more for it? But
well, unless I get a ring or a trophy,
three Super Bowl losses in our era. It feels like within the last 10 years, 3 Super Bowl losses. It's a herpes.
I called
up work the last 2 days.
Like Dion brought up, it took Reed a long time. He had good teams. He had great teams. I watched them. They were stacked Philly teams. And Bebop knows because that's where he's from. I know Bebop, and Bebop probably just playing.
I know T.O. When they brought in T.O., T.O. was screaming at McNabb.
Their defense was sick. They had an incredible quarterback, one of the best. He was a smart coach then. He had coaches working for him that were also very, very intelligent, very wise coaches. That he has his own tree that he's obviously not until he was a chief, but there are plenty of people that Reed has worked and learned from and taught that are still out there. He knows what he's doing. It just goes to show either, okay, you can say two things. You can say it's rigged, which a lot of people believe, and I'm getting there. I'll be honest with you, I'm getting there. It used to be 50-50, but I'm starting to get 60-40 on the rigged stuff. With the Patriots, my big thing is that their dynasty came right after we were attacked on our shores. We were attacked on American shores, and then in a couple of weeks, or like in days or hours, it was like the Patriots been crowned. The
Patriots went after 9/11.
The American USA Patriots are now the champs all the time. It's convenient, and when you're a detective, for example, I'm just using that as an example, or a cop, coincidences, as Bryant probably knows because he's seen The Dark Knight Rises, not allowed to believe in coincidences. Okay, there's no such thing. And things can't be left to chance when they're so important. So
it's Disney Channel all over again. Who knows?
It is a little upsetting because we were very, very close. Very,
123.4 million viewers. Get a little help from T Swift.
Yeah, and that's what it breaks down to, because Kansas City, their ticket sales increased, their jersey sales increased, their views on television increased just as soon as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce became.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor Swift was like,
how much millions of dollars of jersey sales?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also, Juice.
Not that many people that live in Kansas City.
Got a little bump. Juice's wife got a nice little free advertising, and she got to do well from her jackets that she created and stuff. That's nice.
Yeah,
who
she ended up working with Taylor Swift, who marketed her. So hand in hand, it kind of worked out for her, and but it's just a little convenient. It really, truly is. The NFL got the views that they wanted, they got the money that they wanted, and the Chiefs got their championship. So this whole year, we will hear about how Kyle failed and lost 3 Super Bowls. And truly, he lost one in Atlanta. That shouldn't completely go on him, but it will.
I feel
So-
like that's impressive to me, to be in so many championships and so many Super Bowls in such a short time. Kyle is a child in the realm of head coaches. Yeah, McVay won. Shula was in his 30s. You know, there was a couple coaches who went in at like 34, I think is the lowest age that I quoted. 34, 35, 36 was like the youngest head coaches to win. But it's really rare. It's really rare. Most people need a long time because not only do you need luck, the stars have to align. And if the stars don't align, it's going to be really tough unless it's written. And it was already in the cards. It's just very
Hardman
hard.
was double covered. Hardman had Logan Ryan. Hardman had big, Fred Warner out there on the edge. Pro Bowl, All Pro, AP.
Yeah,
Like,
but
how's a guy that's double
Fred's still-
covered
though,
by a Super Bowl winner and an AP All Pro, like, just fucking have a brain fart and they don't see him going off to the edge?
yeah,
It
it was
just felt
like
very.
really boring last play. It seemed
couldn't
like the
believe
end
two
of a
great
second
points.
quarter in a regular season game.
Big
That
game.
play. It was just so. It was so unexciting. The play that we lost on. It was just so boring. After that whole Super Bowl, after that defensive battle, and then on that to end it on that play, it was just so bad.
I honestly thought the Super Bowl ended when
Stop.
we were in overtime.
There's a guy right here. He's telling me how do we have CMC, the top running back of the whole season long? He gets us to the red zone,
And then he
and,
gets
and we don't feed him the ball.
Yeah, I still
And,
just
and we
don't
kicked the
understand.
field goal to be up by 3.
instead of going on
Right.
4th and 4 when we had
Why
originally
not?
gone on 4th and 3.
We abandoned the run game after the third fucking quarter, and even at the second quarter, at halftime, I was like, I hope we don't fucking abandon the run. And the whole third quarter, he didn't get shit. He got 80 yards receiving, 80 yards running all day, 160 all purpose. Don't get me wrong, but
You know, nobody did
when
much.
we should have utilized him, we abandoned it. Even though they were stopping it here and there, like, we abandoned it. And we should have just kept going. You know why? Because a good team will play what the defense knows what we're going to play, but we're still good enough to fucking get over it.
I think we lost the Super Bowl, and I really truly think we lost the Super Bowl when it was 4th and 1, and Patrick Mahomes. It was in the overtime, and he scrambled and he
For
picked
20
up.
yards.
Yeah, I thought it was like 15 or something yards, 20 something yards. I almost thought it would have been like it would have been better for the league if he would have just made it into the end zone right then. But then, like what you're saying, the pass at the end and us just like him being wide open, that was really just like
It was like we weren't
let
even ready
Kittle-
for the play.
We let Kittle not get shit. He got 4 fucking yards all game.
Kittle nothing, Ayuk nothing, Debo nothing.
Ayuk nothing, Debo nothing. We're going to Juwan Jennings and Chris Conley. Like, God bless the whole fucking team. We were a solid squad, but geez, we abandoned our AP All Pros, dude. And it was just like, okay, even though CMC wasn't getting a couple like runs across, you have to reiterate it. You have to keep hitting them where their defense, I don't feel, is as good as what they play. They're not.
Nope.
Like, the only guys that were really playing good were Snead and the other cornerback.
Mhm.
But other than that, like, as long as we got Chris Jones, crossed off, we were able to make moves. But they just kept blitzing their safeties, and we weren't picking it up.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When you see it's so hard for me not to think something is rigged when on the most important play that we have, we leave their best defensive lineman unblocked.
unblocked, dude.
Nobody.
Fucking
They
Chris
made a
Jones.
hole. They made a hole for him. Okay. Now, if you're standing there, and I know Brock isn't stupid. He can see that. He can see that. That was the play. The play had been written down in September. Okay. You cannot.
Burford,
How are you? They have one guy. They have one guy on the line
he
who's hurting
started
him,
most of the year.
leave him wide open. And that's another thing. How is Travis Kelce the most impressive, the most incredible tight end in the world? You want to watch his highlight film from this past year? Watch it. He's always
So
wide open. Nobody is ever near Travis Kelce, although he is a tight end in the middle of the field, in between linebackers and linemen that are 7 feet tall and linebackers who are waiting to kill him. Nobody ever can touch him. Nobody's ever covering him. He's always wide open. I actually said this on 49K with Steph the other day, and she agreed. How is the best player on their team always open no matter who they play? Why? Because it's BS. Scripted bullshit. Okay?
Dude,
Nobody
I felt like
is Ayuk wide
Fred
open?
Warner was dragging his feet to try to catch him.
Nobody's ever wide open all the time. Watch every football player that played this year and see their separation compared to this guy. This guy who's not that fast. This guy who's enormous. And nobody can cover the guy. Total BS. It's BS.
Got a 40-yard reception off of a drag route.
Crazy.
I'm
We've had
still.
incredible tight ends in Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, Sterling
He's the
Sharp.
slowest route runner
Have
I've
you
ever
seen
seen.
people wide open on every single play in the middle of the field for 5 years? Never. You'll never see it, because when a coach knows that that's going to happen, he'll double team a guy. Just like in basketball. In the first quarter, if a guy scores 40 points, usually what happens in the second half is he scores nothing because they put 2 people. But you don't do that.
When Drake Greenlaw was in the game, what did Travis Kelce had 2 yards in the first 2 quarters?
Yeah, but
He didn't really get
scripts
loose
don't kick
till
in
the
until
end
the
of the
second
game.
half. Scripts always kick in
We
after the
were
half.
holding him down 2 yards in the first 2 quarters. He wasn't doing shit. That's why he jumped at Andy Reid, like, keep me in, like he was doing something, but he wasn't doing shit.
Yeah.
Well, he did not do. He did the jump. He had like attacked Andy Reid on the sidelines when the fumble happened.
That was
And,
weird.
he's like, don't do that. Don't pull me out. But regardless, he's not a blocking tight end. But it's just a little weird. It was very, very
Greenlaw
weird.
had him locked down.
Guys, this is my hot take. The Chiefs are going to try to repeat, right? 3-peat, right?
Of course. That's what this is all about.
The first
Jordan era.
the first team in NFL history to do this, right? They are on the verge of doing it, right? A lot of other teams have tried, they didn't get it done. This season depends on whether or not Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift stay together. If they break up, because they're supposed to get married, but if they break up, the Chiefs aren't getting that ring. I
They're going to
guarantee.
stay together. They're going to stay together. And you know what's going to be happening when the Super Bowl's coming out? Either they're going to be getting married or they're going to be having a baby. So next Super Bowl, they're going to be cruising into the Super Bowl as usual. They're going to be doing wedding bell shit or baby fever or whatever it is. And more girls and more kids will be watching for Taylor. And
Like, have more kids, America.
so get ready. Get ready for all year
now.
hearing about a 3-peat and baby fever or wedding bells.
All right, and let's bring up this point right here because we got to address this. So your kicker killed by missing that extra point. It doesn't miss that we weren't having this conversation.
No, not
we still have this conversation because if the Niners are up that point, then guess what happens? The Chiefs don't settle for a field goal.
The Chiefs don't give a crap what we do. They're going to score regardless.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that kick missed. That missed kick didn't affect the game at all.
If we were up 17, right? Because the Chiefs weren't up, they weren't up. They were at 13. If we were up 17,
media attacked this already from every direction. It's not.
They would have went down.
Unfortunately,
and they would have scored a touchdown. so they wouldn't have settled for a field goal. So that
Exactly.
extra point doesn't matter. And then for us to be able to at least tie it up and go into overtime, that's where it killed us not being able to stop the defense. So Moody's extra point, it hurt us to a certain point, but it didn't.
It may have hurt us in that moment, but that's not going to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. That 1 point wasn't going to make us the champs. It's just that's not how you beat the Kansas City Chiefs because you missed the extra point. That's not what's going to take you over the top against
and
this team.
It's not an excuse. It's truly not. He should have made all the points, but
it was absolutely his fault, though. He absolutely kicked the low kick, 100%.
100%. Some people are saying he kicked it off his ankle. Some people are saying the laces were in. Some people are saying Mitch Wisnowski bobbled the ball. But guess what? Your job is to make kicks.
Yeah,
but
whatever it is, it was a bad kick, and that's his miss. Nobody else.
Braylon was injured most of the year.
Yeah, all I'm saying is
he just got implemented back into the punt returns like the last couple weeks of the season. Like,
that point is nice to have, but that's not stopping the Chiefs. I mean, we know who they are, and we know what was coming. I mean,
it was just life. I feel like it was just life.
2 weeks ago,
because it was such bullshit things that really ended up being our downfall. Like, we beat ourselves. We didn't get beat.
That fumble.
I'm still gonna roll with that.
The missed kick.
So I got it.
Things start to snowball, and they start to affect your confidence and your, the motivation and your momentum. That has a lot to do with it, So what I will say is the kick definitely, got us. It definitely got in our head. That's not what we want to see. But what I will say about Moody is that he's a kid, and the goalposts are even different in the NFL than they are in college. He's adjusting. He's a beast. He had the record for the longest kick until, of course, it had to be beaten.
Yeah, let's go.
The Chiefs had to. We couldn't even get a record kick.
Come on, Brian. Let's go. He got that. Records, baby.
Come on now. I'm dropping.
I'm excited about it.
All I'm saying is regardless of that extra point,
a block kick, a muff punt,
See,
some of the worst some of the worst football plays that can happen.
I'm gonna say
the CMC goddamn fumbling in the red zone first series. Like
same thing in the Cleveland game, Bebop. That was an important game. He is a stud. He is a legend.
Way too many of the odd plays that happened.
Him and then Trent followed up with those 2 penalties, and I'm just thinking to myself, this is the Super Bowl now.
Back to back.
And you're Trent Williams. You're not the guys that are making the mistakes. When you're making the mistakes, we're gonna lose, and we did.
Back to back.
Well, I wanted to say this. Again, it's not about the extra point. It's not about the extra point that he missed. It's about what happened after that. The Chiefs seeing that they didn't have to go for a touchdown. They took the points.
Yeah.
They continued to allow the team to play the game to play out. It played out. We maybe made a costly mistake by not taking the ball at the end instead of taking it at the beginning, in overtime. Who knows? Maybe it would have worked out. But the Niners played a great game. They really did. And
Kansas City didn't play a great game.
They didn't.
Then this is what happens to us all the time. We only have like 5 losses in the last 2 friggin' years. But you know what? They were our fault. Nobody beat us down. Well, maybe the Ravens. But again, that was an odd game too, because as we all have discussed, if you haven't heard it already, you live under a rock. Tipped passes are intercepted at like 9% rate. So that was just really, really bad luck. And I think that by the middle of that game, after 4 interceptions, Kyle was like, let's shut this shit down. We made the playoffs in week 13. We're not revealing anything in this game in case we have to play these guys. I think that's what happened in that game. Now, we lost that game. Fair and square. I'm not making excuses. I'm saying that we shut it down at some point because there was nothing to do anymore in that game. And revealing some play like we did that play last night where we threw it to, CMC, and CMC threw it to John Jennings, and John, that we can't do that in the Ravens game. Why? It's meaningless. It's a meaningless game. It meant nothing. So for Kyle to pull out a play like that or something in that game just means they're going to see it before we use it. And it may have been our only touchdown. And had we done that in the Ravens game, trying to catch up, because it's such an important game, then KC would have been watching that. And their coaches would have been watching, and they would have said, look at this play. And when we pulled that fucking play out, we almost got intercepted by somebody. It's just that Burford or somebody or Banks like knocked somebody off their trajectory, and we just happened to be able to complete that play because that was about 4 inches from an interception play. And that was the best play we had.
All right, folks, we are going to
Can
close
we give
up
some
shop.
respect? Can we give some
Do you want
respect
this-
to Juwan Jennings?
I did.
Yeah.
I made it short for him, and I made him the
Dude,
king.
he had a game.
Crown on his head. I tried to put a crown on his head, but I couldn't do it because it's a YouTube short. It's
He had
not.
a fucking game.
Guys, we are going to close up shop. I wanted to hop on, get your guys' thoughts real quick. There's other
Hey,
shows.
quick
going
question. Can
on.
we do a quick question real quick, Brian? Ayuk?
Yeah, I'm gonna give everybody. Let me give everybody their final second. Please go check out Niner Faithful Radio or TED Talks Ball. They're great channels. They're probably going on right now. We are just going live to have something fun. I'm usually at work during this time. So, final thoughts, everybody. Kenny, me and Kenny will be doing more stuff later on. Probably, maybe more likely this week. Bebop, thank you so much for coming, and let me give everybody a chance to say adios and their final thoughts. Kenny, starting with you, my buddy.
My final thoughts are: I knew it was going to happen when the season started. I knew when all our losses were going to be for the most part. You can't stop this hype train that is the Kansas City Chiefs and this dynasty and this Midwest like hype and excitement. I mean, we had
Squeaking them out.
We had our
That's what they've been doing. Squeaking them out.
we had our run, and I'm sure teams hated us, and we loved it, right? We didn't give a crap. And now, we had our time. The Chiefs, if you ask me, the Chiefs got kind of screwed out of the first Super Bowl because I think they should have won that one. They were a force in the AFL. They were like 11-12. They could have easily beat the Packers, in my opinion. That's my number one scripted Super Bowl 1, Super Bowl 3. I will always go to those two when it comes to scripted stuff. I still think the NFL is scripted. I'm going to stick by that. And all this year, we're going to try and figure it out together. We're going to dive deep. Brian and I, we're going to do a show. We're going to try and look at individual plays, people who we see on film purposely missing tackles and going for a block instead of hitting a player, or missing interceptions that are can of corn, like pop-ups to second base, and people are missing interceptions. It's a little big. Gambling is so big right now. Gambling is like really what's driving football right now and most of sports, because I think people stopped watching, and it's important to have young people play, interested in the game and watch. And so I get it. And gambling is its own thing, but gambling, when something, so much money, you have to realize that there's going to be corruption when there's a lot of money involved in something. That's all I'm saying. And Ayuk, please come back. I don't believe his brother saying that shit and saying we, like he has anything to do with anything. The guy doesn't play sports. He's not making decisions for anybody. He's a freeloader. Ayuk's brother, come on the show and tell us why you're not a freeloader.
His girlfriend talking shit on social media too.
I mean, I'm never going to go to one of my relatives and be like, oh, I don't like your decisions, because you could be making a lot more money for us.
Well, there is something, if this is Ayuk's thoughts, it's Ayuk's thoughts. If this is his family's thoughts, then, you definitely want to listen to family, but you have to make your decisions. And
Some
Ayuk,
family.
I respect your decisions, but I would like to see you come back as a 49er as well. We really appreciate everything you've done, and I wish they would have thrown the ball to you at the end. But it was just really weird that last play, when we went third, it was our third down, overtime. They didn't block. It was like the right side just forgot who to block, and there was 3 guys right there that could have hit Purdy, and you don't have time to throw.
They're doubling up on somebody who wasn't making an impact in the game the whole time.
Ayuk went wide open.
The Mahomes interception was like the
boneheaded
the straight pass. It looked like he threw it right to Jair Brown. I'm just gonna go on a limb and say that. You want to keep watching it over and over? Go check the play out. It was, what is he doing? He's Patrick Mahomes. He hasn't thrown an interception in 3 years, right? But he just throws this crap pass to Jair Brown right to him. Sorry. It's just drama, guys. It's a coaster. It goes up and down. And it's designed to keep you in your seat so that you don't turn the TV off.
123.4 million people.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you very much. Bebop, thank you so much for coming. Kenny, thank you so much for coming. Folks, we'll be back. And
you
just turn
guys.
your notifications on. Check out Kenny's channel. He's got a bunch of great shorts. Bebop, he's a great fan and a great friend, and he helps out the community so much. He's everywhere. Check out Ted Talks Ball. He's got a great channel. He's probably on right now.
Stay strong, faithful. We'll be back next year.
Check out 49er Faithful Radio. They had just started their show. TJ and Jason Niners Mash Massey. And yes, stay faithful, folks.
Thanks for watching.
Peace.